Um, Noble Hand Islam. I'm not sure exactly who you are, but peace and love. Glad you made it. Um, so keep these things in mind. When we say high priest, you're saying more. All right. And the original high priest was Anu. That's where you get Anubis and all these personifications.
There's a hieroglyphic too, right? Of Anu.
Hieroglyphic, yeah. It's a hieroglyphic of Anubis, yeah. And even the owl is supposed to be a glyph of uh of that as well. Everybody can get a hieroglyphic dictionary and then just look up more. It'll give you with the definition I just read right now, the high priest of Anu, and it'll have a symbol of an owl. And then even MR is more anciently, we just go back to the pyramid and stuff like that. So it's a lot of different degrees on this space. Um, any thoughts, comments as I scroll? Oh, Islam. You just okay, Islam. Brother Brother R. Jones, Bay, peace and love. Okay. Oh, so the other brother must be oh, he on two. He on two. Okay, he on two. There we go. Islam. All right, so let's open the floor for some thoughts and comments as I look for the next aspect of my demonstration here. Oh, yeah, there we go. So when we're talking about Buddha, um, back to Noble Joe Ali, when he's saying we honor all divine prophets, Prophet, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, Yahshua, right, etc. That on the face, it sounds like unification of all walks of life. On a higher degree, which it is now, on a higher degree, we're talking about all of these things, talked about the activation of the Christ or the pioneer or a Gnostic way of life, understanding how things work while you having this physical experience, how to ascend to the higher self. You know, he's simply to call it the higher self or the higher planes or the heavens above your uh sacral chakra or solar plexus. The 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 chakras that are north of your solar plexus are generally referred to as the heaven, and the chakras below your solar plexus are referred to as being in hell, your carnal self, root chakra, and all that stuff, right? So Krishna is another example of just that Buddha, Krishna, Yeshua, because when you start getting into Jesus, that's what I'm looking for in this book. This author talks about how the Christ story comes from, I mean, the Jesus Christ story comes from the Krishna, which is a Hindu deity. These are from the Moors that spoke Sanskrit. These are the Moors that had an empire and sultan. Remember, in the 101s, Noble Joali says, what is the name of our Moors ruler or his? Sultan. So that means anywhere where there was a sultan on this planet, it was under the jurisdiction of the Moorish paradigm. One of those sultans was in the Mauryan Empire, or the Mauryan dynasty. Just look up Mauryan dynasty, you'll see what I'm saying. Now, the Moors in this jurisdiction spoke Sanskrit. A lot of them were into, like I say, Krishna as a principle to activate the higher heavens of self. Um, and in this story, which was before Yahshua was on the scene, our brother Yahshua, that story that got remixed by the Constantine Moors or the Roman Moors or the Nicene Council took that story, remixed it, and made it seem like, perverted it, as we know the most common Jesus story. So once again, this is just for notes and for if people got questions about this. And most of our, just like in our Noble Jew Ali's tenure, a lot of our people were heavily indoctrinated in the church. That's why the first wave was for Black Negro colors. We are not right. That's the first wave. And that's why Jesus is a heavy focal point in the Circle Seven, because he's reaching people where they at that they're most familiar with. But once we get the higher lessons, our job is to take it further. Remember, Noble Ali got assassinated um, pretty early in his tenure, but it was more to, it was our job. He gave us enough tools to take what he brought and take it further. This is an example of what I mean, and one of the examples. Um, Same thing in China. Look up brother, I think it was Sultan Shin. That's where you get, China from. But this is melanated people. Um, a lot of people, of course, in the Moorish paradigm, we got so many master teachers that are presenting stuff on YouTube, but in space, ancient pictures and stuff like that. But that never gets old. We must show people these melanated sculptures in China, these ancient gods, these, you know, now barbarian. Now they'll call it, which that's true because when you look at the Barbary, we got the Barbary and Tartary side of the empire. So whenever you're hearing Barbary or barbarian, of course they didn't demonize the word. So you're thinking a savage person just blood running down his mouth and he got they trying to break up rocks and do primitive stuff. But no, Barbary, when you look up Barbary, I think in California, nickname for the Barbary Coast is still like lingo embedded in this area. That's the ancient Moors and the old world. So think of Ham's jurisdiction. So let's go back to the map. Let's go back to the map. All right. So we're talking about the separation of Ham and Kush. This is Barbary over here, all the way up into like the Mali Moors, all the way. But the Americas, Olmecs, Mayans, Amarushi clan, that's the old Barbary. Kush, his son, extended to the part of the empire called Tartarian. All right, so Barbary, Tartary, Genghis Khan and the crew, the Mauryan dynasty, the Moros, our original Cambodian brothers and sisters that had was pheasant turbaned up over there, our original Vietnamese people, ancient cultures, um, the kingdom of Angkor, the kingdom of Champa, Tartary, Olmecs, Mayans, Aztecs, Barbary. All right, so I'm trying to make it simple as possible. Um, I feel like I should even look that up. Let's so y'all can see it, so y'all can own it. This might be a new space. Barbary. It's even in North Africa. Let's see. Let's just see what happens when I look up Barbary here. Look, okay, Barbary, a former name for the Saracen countries. Remember that Northwestern thing I told you how they do is every time we look up anything Moorish, oh, these people from Northwest, Northwest of Mexum, which is equivalent to the Americas, North America, Mexico, Central America, Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba, all the islands under Florida, South America, Barbary. Now, of course, this is Wikipedia, but it's still enough to cross-reference to let you know that Barbary and Moorish is tied together. I'm just giving you further information. And see how it says Maghrib? All right, so now look at this. See how I said Maghrib right there? I'm going back and forth between two books. Now, this is the golden age of the Moors. The other book was Ancient African Presence of Early Asia. I'm going to another book now. All right, now, in this book, look at this. We just read something about the Maghrib. Now, right here it said the term Moor was a geographic designation meaning Western. So where's the farthest west? right? So if you were living in America, then you would say, "Oh, Alaska, the extreme west," but we're in the west. All the Americas would be the west. So in these time periods, we're talking about BC and we're talking about Northwest Africa. We're not talking about what they call the Middle East today. Today, they'll be like, "Oh, a Middle Eastern is from Northwest Africa, Egypt, Kingdom of Morocco." That's all got created after World War One and World War Two, 1950s at best. All right, so ancient lands, we're talking about the Americas. Um, okay. So this is once again cross-referencing is a way to kind of show people in real time. Of course, let people know how we invented chess. We was playing chess as a cognitive exercise to get the minds of the people sharp to be strategists. There's so much information here. I can go a lot of different directions, but try not to be scatterbrained here. Um, these are figurines in Germany. Of course, the original Germans uh, were melanated, but remember, adepts in the Moorish paradigm is this is repetition, but don't ever take it for granted. Like this is not brand new information for the common people. The common people are looking at the Germans as blonde hair, blue eye. The common people are looking at it from Hitler and all this, putting people in ovens, and the Jews got misplaced and misused and all this type of stuff. They don't know about Saint Maurice and the original Germans, the original tribes of Germany were melanated Moors. Somebody put something in the chat. Oh yeah, some heat. It's some heat in the chat of some literature. Yeah, so everybody take heed to what the brother. These are excellent books to put in your archive. You gonna take a picture?
Yeah.
Okay, let me let her take a picture real quick. All right, so let me start from up here.
Okay.
Bam. Okay, scroll. Okay, you got that.
84. Yep. Six.
Okay.
Okay. Nine.
Nine. Okay.
10. Okay. And that's good.
Okay. So we're just taking pictures of all these books because we always a student. We always a student, right? All right. So let's scroll down here. Yeah, there's so much heat in this book. I just don't want to just lose focus on my demonstration. Also, Berber. Look up the Berbers. Berber is an abbreviation for Barbary, actually, and that's what I was looking for as well. But yeah, Berber is short for Barbary. That's the main thing. Was the whole Barbary demonstration. Let me check the chat. Okay. All right. So it was somebody, I don't know how true this is, that was saying Noble Drew Ali and Drew and Druid as far as high priest and adept and his how he was bestowed his title, but I don't know how intuition it sounds cool, but somebody that spoke on that earlier. I thought that was pretty interesting parallel because he knew he was Cherokee, so he was raised. Oh, here we go. That's what I was looking for. Um, yeah, so the brother was Cherokee, and he never was pushing the back to Africa movement. He actually specifically said, the Moorish paradigm is not a back to Africa movement. you know. But I wanted to show this. These people right here were actually original Slavs. They was like a humpback because we went through this before. The Slav were a mutation experiment. And we're looking at them in their early primitive phases. Look at how they're following these high priests. Now, they're Moors in Seville. Now, when it got conquered and we fell in that area, they called it Spain. But in Al-Andalus, we had like Cordoba, Granada, Seville. These were all Moorish um, nation states. Now look at the garb, because let's go back to the whole Kanye thing. So you can explain the Kanye thing a little better. So the Moors in Seville wore this type of garb that is associated with the KKK today. So the KKK's outfit wasn't the KKK's outfit. It has an origin. The origin is the Moors of Seville, the royal families of what they call today Spain. We call Al-Andalus. Now the Moors that fell in that area, and then when King Ferdinand and Isabella took over, we had the ones that got expelled and they set up new jurisdictions in South America, which we already did a demonstration multiple times about how before it was called Colombia and all that stuff in South America, it was called New Granada. It was called New Granada because the Moors that fell in a Granada, which was in Spain in the 1490s, they got exiled and they just re-clicked up with their cousins in the old world and set up new jurisdictions. Now, the ones that stayed in what's now called Spain, they were forced to turn Morisco, or they were forced to turn Christian. They had to be Islamic only in secret. And they wore these hoods right here um, to give a sense of pride. Like we still got our Moorish garb on, but we got the hood on because we ashamed that we got shut down. It's no jurisdiction, and we gotta, we want to save our family, so we gonna do the Christian thing. Um, but the hoods they were wearing were the same ones, but they were black. Most of the time were the ones the KKK adopted their hoods from. So this is what Kanye was attempting to do, is spread this info. He was ridiculed behind it. But I wanted to give a little insight, a little more clarity on that. Any thoughts on that? Questions, comments? Because that's another space that our people need to comprehend. Once again, history and law go together.
Yeah, hey, Mark, I had can you go over the info that you said again about like the Druids, I think you said?
All right, go back to
Because
that.
yeah, because I'm just going off as far as like, correct me if I'm wrong. Like I've heard like the Druids were like kind of like paganistic type of people and doing stuff like that. Is that the same with the Moors, or was it something that like some of them did? Or,
Well, the
yeah,
whole
like
pagan thing, pagan coming from the European lens or Roman lens to the Romans or the Holy Roman emperors and the popes later, they would tag anybody that wasn't down with Catholicism. They would just tag them pagans or heathens. Um, so in that sense, yeah. But in reality, there were yeah, these are just Moors, different high priests that knew the high science. Um, and as you can see, there were medical professionals, political advisors, in some cases judges. So that means, oh, and religious leaders. So that means it was a whole jurisdiction, it was a whole community. Um, and that's why I made this parallel with free white person uh reintroducing this definition from a different scope is because who are considered white, right? It's the European Jews more or less intermixed with people of Celtic, uh, which the Celtics are what we're talking about. The Celtics are the Druids, um, and the Druids are Moorish. It's just a clan, all right, of Moors that were heavy and Kush jurisdiction, but really any so high. Oh, and also I mean high priest. So that's another thing I was connecting. Hmm. When you talk about high priests, once again, let's go back to the high priest of Anu and that whole demonstration. So right, so high priest. Anytime you hear high priest from the Romans' eyes, from the European lens, pagan. All high priests is pagans from their perspective because they're not with anybody that's doesn't have a Catholic lens or is not trying to establish control from a missionary a religious perspective to suppress culture. Because they remembered all these missionaries were coming to these high priest areas and trying to mingle with them. And then once they mingle, now you have a separation of the people. For example, the island of Haiti, half the island is Dominican Republic, half the island is Haitian. And the Haitians are called pagan by the quote unquote Dominicans or people Dominican. And they only taught that because they Saint Dominicus, which was a saint that came out there sent by the Pope. Let's go to Vietnam. Same thing. Catholic missionaries went to the South. Same thing. Now Vietnam is split, North and South Vietnam. Um, Same thing in the Philippines, North and South. You got Philippines that had sultans, and you had the ones that got infiltrated by the Spanish, and now they fighting against each other. They're called Negritos. In America, we're called Negroes. Same people getting tagged the same thing. And we was everywhere. We wasn't just in America. We was in Cambodia. We was in China. We was in Hindustan, West Africa. We was in Europe. We was, you know, everywhere. And you'll see, well, once again, World War One, World War Two, all the pagans shut their ancient culture down, flip them, or attempt to. Um, Hopefully I explained that well. Hopefully. How you feel about that?
Yeah, I get exactly what you're saying because I agree on the part of like, how they put you in a category of what they think you should be labeled and stuff. I was kind of asking, far as just like, would you would this be like I was wondering because I don't know too much about it, but I was wondering like what uh do they believe in a in the Most High, or do they believe of like praising of like different deities and stuff? Like I didn't
Oh,
know. Yeah, that's what I was kind of asking.
okay, yeah. So a lot of the Druids were around before Yahshua ben Yosef. All right. These societies and nation states were around before Yahshua or the brother they called Jesus. Now, um, you know what? I'm not gonna assume okay, when you say most high, you weren't necessarily okay.
Yeah. I'm not saying like coming from
Okay.
like a
Yeah.
Christianity
Okay.
point
Yeah.
or anything. I was just like, cause I was just because like for us to heal, like one thing I know, like we all got to be honest. Like some of our ancestors did good things, some of our ancestors did things that wasn't too good. That's reason why we're kind of in the situation that we're in. And I was like wondering, like, okay, like were these, Druids were they like basically like were they like on a good page? Like were they like, you know,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, like you
and
say, we can't speak for everybody, but for the most part,
right,
they
right.
for the most part, yeah, they was high priests. Um, and they were nobles. They were noblemen. They were doing good things. Um, they were thriving communities, high science, the Taj Mahal style buildings that were being erected all across were our people that were responsible. And how we constructed these buildings was high science. Like everything was high vibration. You know, the cathedrals, the copper domes to even get electricity from the earth. Everything was about taking the human experience to the heights, reaching the heavens, not only within, but once you reach the heights of the higher self of within and you start building communities um, of adepts, 'cause that's what it is. It's like with one person that's an adept, boom, high priest, and then you linking up with other high priests that's on that same noble nature, and now you have uh, societies that are built on that. And the most ancient society on record that most people are commonly known as the Egyptian art, the people that they tag are people as Egyptian is the most talked about of the Druids, right? Because there's Druids too. These high priests too, right? So, um, but that's just a time frame of, where most of the pyramid building was being built, most of the technological situations were being manifested in the physical form. A lot of the focal point focused on are people that are tagged Egyptian, but these are Druids though. So anybody using the high science on a positive note were Druids. You can give them that title. Um, but at a large clip are people that fell from their noble nature. Those are the ones that turn Roman as a whole. Those are the ones that are people that fail. And these are people that were clashing with our people that had the ancient mind frame. And once again, that's what the whole Punic Wars was about from the BC time all the way into today. The old world, old time religion versus new time religion. That's what I like to say. It was a clash. Um, but yeah, the Druids, that was a good team. That was a good
Okay,
team
so
for
so they so they kind of got like taken over by like uh like outside individuals that did other things with it. Is that correct?
yeah,
Cause like you seen yeah like you seen like when I first hear Druids like I just got informed today because when I first think of a Druid I'm thinking of like white men with the robes by Stonehenge trying to what I mean
yeah, yeah.
doing uh conjured up some stuff so that's why when I heard this I was like oh snap yeah.
Um, I got a
Con.
question. Um, so if some of our ancient ancestral Moors were, dirty Moors, there were good Moors and dirty Moors, okay, but obviously the dirty Moors also got banished from whatever land that they was dwelling in because all these lands present day just have a Slavic race type presence. It ain't really too many, except like some Asian countries. Well, I'm sorry, that's the wrong word, but you know what I'm saying. Those countries still have like copper tone people, but it's a lot of countries that don't. Like when you go to Russia, there's still copper tone people in Russia. It's more Slavic than copper tone people. So I'm wondering, or even mulattoes. So I'm wondering how did all these areas was able to now it looks like the majority of the population in that area is Slavic and not copper tone people, and I yield.
Oh, that's only through the lens of ABC, Fox, and CBS. Once you go to these places, you're gonna see it's still there. Are people, extremely melanated people are still in these areas. Um, when you talk to, like, for example, you talk to somebody from the Philippines that may be very light complexion, they'll tell you about, oh yeah, it's people off in the mountains and they call them the bush people and all this type of stuff. It got so many different nicknames for the indigenous people in these areas. Same thing in Europe. Most people get the concept as all like blonde hair, blue eyed people, but when you go there, it's a big population of melanated people, such as like Seal, the R&B singer Seal. Was that considered R&B? But it's a singer named Seal, and he's indigenous to Britain. Matter of fact, it was a lady that bought a watermelon. I documented. She was from Britain. I can put it on my Instagram. She from Britain. And she like, oh yeah. Matter of fact, what I'm showing right now, she was talking about this coat of arms right here. Uh, let's see, the original coat of arms of the Kingdom of Argon consisted of Christian cross, through the power of which four Moorish princes had been defeated. So before the Romans came in, we fell over there. You have Moorish princes that were indigenous to Argon, or what they call Europe today, or different aspects of Europe. So before it was what it is today, once again, our people in America, they think Britain, France, Dutch, oh, blonde hair, blue eye. But the original people in this area were Moorish nobility, right? So that's why today, even today, they got all these coat of arms and evidence of that fact that, they were shut down. And same thing in Russia, same thing in China, same thing in India or Hindustan, same thing in Pakistan, same thing in Malaysia, same thing in Laos, same thing in Vietnam, same thing in Japan, the Shogun Moors, the Shaolin and the Moorish, martial arts discipline. This is all Tartarian, Kushite, all these, you know what I mean? So, yeah, we get that they're making people look a certain complexion, but that's just a systematic throw off. Because at this point, it's so much information to show the latter. At this point, it's like I say, people just want to be asleep. At this point, it's more of a conditioning thing, but it's too much. And outside of the literature, like we're looking at, it's live people from these areas that'll tell you, oh yeah, yeah. Even from Mexican, Central America, South America, or people from El Salvador, Honduras, uh, of course, Belize. Everybody know Belize people, but Belize is like right next door to Honduras. Belize is Central America, right? And LA is a big Belizean community. They look just like me. So it's well known that Central America and South America is melanated people. And the lighter skinned people will tell you that in North America. Oh yeah, when you go to Mexico, when you go to Central America, you go, yeah, they just speak Spanish, look just like you. There's no debate, right? They might say Afro Latino. They might, oh yeah, they call it Afro, but that I don't like saying that because it make it seem like some people from Africa got shipwrecked and then landed there and then start mingling. No, they've been there since BC time. That's why we go far as back as the Olmecs, or properly called the Amarushi clan, the Mayans, the Moors that practice Mayat. That's why they got tagged Mayan in the first place, because it was a Islamic society in America back, because Islam is peace, Mayat is peace and balance. That's why we got these nicknames. We spoke Latin, Latino. We spoke Arabic, Arab. All these are the same people though in the old world. Christopher Columbus discovered when he came to Cuba, he saw all these mosques and Taj Mahal style buildings and all these Quran verses etched in stone next to the mosque. So this is what the quote unquote Indians was doing. Uh, Gold cups, copper cups, rubies. This was indigenous, culture in America. Same thing in America. They make the Indians look how they look. So they're gonna think you think you're not part of that. Um, and once again, the winter solstice celebration that the quote unquote indigenous tribes are holding. That's why we want to go there. It's a great segue to show. Um, proper context and how we can expand even what they're doing. All right, because they might not even have come across somebody with a sound mind or people with sound mind to even attempt to merge this from this standpoint. I know I said a lot, but the bottom line is everywhere you think people are pale is evidence, and the people from these lands will tell you that it's dark people. But since our people aren't social like that, aren't networking, and we be in our little circles, and all we know is what we've been indoctrinated in, we're gonna say that same narrative. Like, all these people, you know, but we don't know. That's about, you know what I mean? Um, but hopefully I answered that well. Any thoughts in the chat on that? Comments? Um, so like for example, like the brother said pagan, they'll call us pagans, they'll call us Saracens. But of course, a lot of terms in here. This is not a Moorish author, conscious Moor. So he's using a lot of um linguistics that are not proper. But he was saying the people are people that got tagged Saracen is of Afro-Asiatic origin. All right, so but in reality is the Romans from Byzantine back to the 101s when Obujo Ali said who took off the head of the devil, Muhammad the Conqueror, and he talks about who the devil was and what date he did it in, 1453 Byzantine. Now we're talking about sultans, Moorish sultans that was shutting down Constantine and the crew. Um, and this Constantine and the crew, Byzantine and the crew, are the Roman Moors that tagged our people with a more ancient mind frame, Saracen, um, pagan. Even that, most people think the Romans are blonde hair, blue eye, and I know, it's been years we have everybody in here should know that by now. But if you don't, that's fine. Let me know you don't know that. We kind of go into that space, but I'm pretty sure everybody knows that. So blonde hair, blue eyed people wanting political power until way later after we start bickering with each other and fail to such a state where they can come and creep in and shut everything down to a degree. Um, any thoughts, comments, or how you feel about that trail, or or anybody, how everybody feeling, or anything anybody wanted to add? I feel like this group of Moors is a lot of this stuff repetition. All right, I think that's all I want to do. So back to the one-on-ones. This might be a new space, what I pointed out here. I keep talking about the one-on-one. So what is the title given to our ruler in Morocco, Sultan? That's that's what I'm talking about, where I don't care if it's a Sultan in Cambodia, which there was, West Africa, Mansa Musa, Abu Bakari, the Sultans in the Mauryan dynasty, Malaysia, um, Kublai Khan, Genghis Khan, all these were sultans, emperors. We might have called them Khans in certain Tartarian jurisdictions, but it's equivalent to an emperor, sultan, etc. Now, repetition, when I brought up the Byzantine situation, I'm talking about the Q&A section of 83 in the one-on-ones. When was the head of Satan taken off? 1453 Byzantines, right? So Byzantine and Rome. Byzantine would be like the intermediary period before it was full-fledged Rome. Some authors will call it Byzantine, some authors will call it Rome, etc. Right? Um, so that's what I'm referring to for the couple new brothers in here, brothers and sisters, that might not what I'm getting into. Um, so I want to just show that. High priest of Anu. Show the map. Are there any questions in general? Questions, comments, just in general. Okay, so I'm gonna go over the 101s from start to finish. From 1 to 101. Repetition. Quran questions for Moorish children. Who made you? Allah. Who is Allah? Allah is the Father of the universe. Can we see him? No. Where is the nearest place we can meet him? In the heart. Who is Noble Jew Ali? He is Allah's prophet. What is a prophet? A prophet is the thought of Allah manifest in flesh. What is the duty of a prophet? To save nations from the wrath of Allah. Who was the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America? Noble Jew Ali. What year was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? 1913. Of course, we have notes, because specifically it wasn't 1920. Moorish Science Temple of America was founded in 1928. It took on a corporate name. 1913, it was the Old Canaanite Temple. 1925, it was the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. 1928, through the Affidavit of Our Authority, it was a DBA and a corporate name established. So that's more specific. But 1913, it was when the work start beginning. That's the bottom line, right? So where? Newark, New Jersey. Where was Noble Jew Ali born? In the state of North Carolina, 1886. What is his nationality? Moorish American. What is your nationality? Moorish American. Why are we Moorish American? Because we're descendants of Moroccans born in America. For what purpose was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded? For the uplifting of fallen humanity. How did the prophet begin to uplift the Moorish Americans? By teaching them to be themselves. What is our religion? Islamism. Is that a new or is that an old-time religion? Old-time religion. What kind of flag is the Moorish? It is a red flag with a green five-pointed star in the center. What do the 5 points represent? Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. How old is our flag? It is over 10,000 years old. Which is our holy day? Friday. Why? Because Friday is the day on which man was formed in flesh, and it is on a Friday when man departed out of flesh. Who was Jesus? He was a prophet of Allah. Where was he born? In Bethlehem of Judah, in the house of David. Who were his father and mother? Joseph and Mary. Will you give a brief line or genealogy from which Jesus came? Some of the great fathers through which Jesus came are Abraham, Boaz, by Ruth, Jesse, King David, Solomon, Hezekiah, and Joseph by Mary. Why did Allah send Jesus to the earth? To save the Israelites from the iron hand oppression of the pale-skinned nations of Europe who were governing a portion of Palestine at that time. How long has that been? About 2,000 years ago. What was the nationality of Ruth? Ruth was a Moabitess. What is the modern name of the Moabites? Moroccans. Where is the Moroccan Empire? Northwest, Amexem. What is the modern name for Amexem? Africa. What is the title given to our ruler in Morocco? Sultan. Where do we get the name Jesus? From the East. What does the name Jesus mean? Justice. Did the angel give to the child that was called Jesus a holy name? Yes, but it cannot be used by those who were slaves to sin. What is an angel? An angel is a thought of Allah, manifest in flesh. What are angels used for? To carry messages to the four corners of the world, to all nations. What is our prophet to us? He is an angel of Allah, who was sent to bring us the everlasting gospel of Allah. What is the everlasting gospel? It is the saving power that comes from Allah through our ancient fathers by his prophet. What is the covenant of the great God Allah? Honor thy fathers and thy mothers, that thy days may be long upon the earth land, which the Lord thy God Allah have given thee. At what age did Jesus begin to teach? At the age of 12. Where did he teach? India, Africa, and Europe. How long did he teach? 18 years. What did Jesus say will make you free? The truth. What is truth? Truth is At. What is At? At is Allah. Can truth change? Truth cannot change or pass away. What other name do we give truth? The holy breath. What have you to say about the holy breath? All we can say is it is great, it is good, it was, and it evermore to be. Amen. At what place on earth was the physical part of man formed? At the Garden of Eden. Where is the Garden of Eden? In the land of Canaan, in the city of Mecca. What is the modern name for the Garden of Eden? Mecca. Now, before I go on, but I might lose my train of thought later. We did a demonstration about Mecca, old Mecca, old Mech, old Mech heads found in America in BC time. I just want to let that sink in. What is the name of the first physical man? His name cannot be used only by the executive rulers of the AC of MSTA. What are the words A of AC of the MSTA? Adept chamber of the Moor Science Temple of America, third heaven. Who were Adam and Eve? They are the mothers and fathers of the human family, Asiatic and Muslim. Where did they go? Into Asia. What is the modern name given to their children? Asiatics. Who is guarding the holy city of Mecca today to keep the unbelievers away? Angels. What is the modern name for those angels? Asiatics. What is the shade of their skin? Olive. Are the Moorish Americans any relation to those angels? Yes, we all have the same father and mother. Give 5 names that were given to the descendants of Adam and Eve. Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, beast. What is the devil sometimes called? The lower self. How many cells are there? 2. Name them. Higher self and lower self. What people represent the higher self? The angels who protect the holy city of Mecca. What people represent the lower self? Those who were cast out of the holy city and those who accept their teachings. What is the higher self? The higher self is the mother of the virtues and the harmonies of life, and breeds justice, mercy, love, and right. Can the higher self pass away? No. Why? Because it is Allah and man. What does the lower self breed? Hatred, slander, lewdness, murders, theft, anything that harms. What did the higher self say to the lower self at one time when he met him? Where are you going, Satan? What was the answer the lower self gave to the higher self? I'm going to and fro the earth, seeking whom I may devour. Has he finished his task of devouring? Yes. When was his time declared out? When he nailed Jesus on the cross? What are the last words Jesus uttered? It is finished. What did he have reference to? He had reference to the end of Satan. Did Jesus say he would return to conquer him? Yes. What is the name of the person into whom Jesus was first reincarnated? Prophet Muhammad the Conqueror. Was Satan to be bound then? Satan was to be bound in part. When was the head of Satan taken off? 1453, Byzantine. By whom? By Muhammad. Name some of the marks that were put upon the Moors of Northwest by the European nations in 1774. Negro, black, colored, Ethiopia. What is meant by the word Negro? Negro, a name given to a river in West Africa by the Moors because it contained black water. What is meant by the word black? Black, according to science, means death. What does the word colored mean? Color means anything that has been painted, stained, varnished, or dyed. What does Ethiopia mean? Ethiopia means something divided. In that map I showed earlier, just real quick, the demarcation line, this is Ethiopia. The demarcation line. Let's go back to the holy books. Let's go back to the instructions. All right, let's see. Well, I want to show everybody. Um, then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of Mexum. So that's the division. So I wanted to drill that home. Something divided. In this context, the division of the separation of the land between him and Cush. All right, so it's not, that's why he's stressing that we're not Ethiopians. Our people that are tagged that were really Abyssinians, Cushites. Haile Selassie and the crew, these are all Abyssinians. And eventually later Eritreans and stuff like that. More technical. Can a man be a Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian? No. Why? Because man is made in the image and after the likeness of God Allah. What does the title Satan give himself? God. Will you define the word white? White means purity, purity means God, and God means ruler of the land. So let's go to free white person. Let's go back to free white person. Remember, this for the notes. This is you're trying to be ambassadors, high priests, noblemen. All right, so free white person, Moorish inhabitant. You got to have Moorish blood. You got to be the noble, the landowner of the land, right? The druid, the high priest, the purity compared to the riffraff of humans today. You stand out as the noble in today's society. What distinguishes you? Purity, linking up with your people, land ownership, businesses, bonds of affection, etc. To whom do we refer at times as being the great God? Allah. Is the devil made in the image and likeness of Allah? No. He is the shadow of our lower selves and will pass away. Who made the devil? Elohim. Who is Elohim? Elohim is the seven creative spirits that created everything that ever was, that is, and ever more to be. What is Elohim sometimes called? The seven eyes of Allah. How many days are there in the circle? 7 days. How many days are in creation? 7 days. According to science, how many days are in a year? 7 days. Circle 7. Holy Quran. Divinely prepared by Noble Jew Ali. Why is it called the Circle 7? These are hypothetical, invoking thought questions. Monday, well, Sunday through Saturday, day 1 through 7. I don't care if it's, you know, 365, 360. Well, it's really 360 is a degrees would be a completion of a circle, but of course they added days, leap year, whatever they falsified, but it's only 7 days in a year. That's the bottom line. No matter how many cycles of that, there's still 7 days, 7 chakras, 7 ruling planets that are nicknamed the 7 eyes of Allah. We live, we're living on Earth, so we're in the Milky Way. So we're governed by the energies of the 7 ruling planets that give us our attributes, how we tick, our impulses. That's why everybody needs to get their chart done, understand who they are, their shortcomings, people they need to be around to bring them to the best version of themselves just naturally. Of course, earth and air complement each other, etc. Um, this is getting more into the intricacies, right? Any thoughts, comments, statements, questions? And once again, like we talked about in the beginning, we have a couple physical events. Once again, everybody here should have my number uh, and the contact information on me if they want to be part of the situation on the 13th. So winter solstice. It's an couple indigenous tribes. We're gonna not only learn some techniques for the land that we will be acquiring, farming, preparing the land, but also politically, it's people that are already organized that consider themselves indigenous to the land. We want to hire their degrees to let them know the Moorish paradigm and then unite. See how the hands are shaking? You see it's unity, coming in love, raising people's degrees. The end game is unity. That's the end game. I don't care if you Hebrew Israelite, a different faction of Moors from different temple that may look at things a certain way and never seen this type of space, never seen this type of demonstration. We still trying to unite. We're going to attempt to. What can we unite on? How can we build something? How can we centralize our finances? How can we erect a treasury internally? How can we wave the same flag? How can we show bonds of affection? Um, oh, okay. Let's do one more round of thoughts, comments, and statements. Oh, so I got scatterbrain. So once again, reach out to me for that situation. That's on the 13th. Whoever wants to attend, uh, we can all pull up as ambassadors, represent the culture of people as Moors, Moorish Americans, fez and turban, garb, interface with this indigenous community. I think some of them identify like Seminole and Choctaw and stuff like that. So once again, Noble Joe Ali, before he was bestowed that title, he was the Egyptian adept. Before that, he was understood he was Cherokee. So, you know, let's raise their degrees. Let's attempt to unite with them. We might can do something special. Because they already got bodies, they already centralized, they got some type of organization already, and they know how to deal with the land. That's a space we need to be in, building Moorish communities. Um, like I said, we're also in communication with the mayor. A lot of things going on. So um, let's increase our solidarity. Let's increase our sincerity. Let's stay in communication with one each other, with each other. All physical events that are coming up, it's imperative that we show face. Um, Once again, we have a fiscal sponsor. All it takes is a competent ambassador to say the right things about our organization, what we're trying to do, how we're trying to do it, the angle we're coming from, and here we go, um, etc. So let's do one more round for thoughts, comments, and statements before we close out in prayer here.
I just want to say thank you once again for allowing me to participate in this. And as always, I'm always learning something new from you. And blessings to everyone.
Wow. All right. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation. By night and by day, it was Holy Prophet, Noble Jew Ali. Amen. Islam. So that conclude today's meeting. Um, I'll stop the recording. And anybody got any thoughts?